And one of the things that sort of occurred to me when I was reading through your information was that you talk about this perfect deposit that you have. Well, what is not perfect? You know, what is the normal challenges phase if it's not your perfect deposit?
Let's see. Look, we'll run through the quick advantages because
everyone's saying, of course, he's going to say he's got the perfect deposit.
That's right. I think one of my slides is this the shallowest, highest grade open pit anywhere.
Yeah.
So look, the advantages are that it's in the lake bed, and so it's basically almost biologically sterile. So there's no plants, there's no native vegetation in through there. There may be some, spiders or something living in the, in the top few centimetres, but within the lake bed itself, there's nothing living there. The pH is about 3. It's fairly acidic, and so it's not a particularly healthy environment for living flora and fauna. The deposit sits from surface down to 2 metres. It's almost like plasticine, and so basically it's a very simple job of digging it up and sticking it on a truck. So because of the grade, it'll go into a truck and then we can take it off site. So from an environmental perspective, there's no requirement for permitting, for a processing plant. We just need, basically, I'm not kidding, like a digger and 2 trucks to put the material in, demountables around the lake, for campaign mining, and the material is direct shipping ore, basically. Dig it up, put it on the truck, and then take it to an industrial yard somewhere in WA. We don't know where that is. So from that perspective, there's a huge number of advantages. The challenges always lie, in particular in the HPA space, in the metallurgy.
So this is the processing,
the actual process, yeah. And then the other challenge is the end users, which we'll come to as well. So really, in terms of the perfect ore body, there's not much to fault about it, and that was the big thing. It's like we've already found, a deposit that's got billions of dollars of contained metal in there, and the challenge is now getting it out and getting it to the end user. So the metallurgical work. So far we've only done it at basically lab scale. It's been successful. But that work has all been not optimised. So basically, Roland did a lot of the initial work in his kitchen.
Yeah.
So it worked successfully there. We've taken it to ALS laboratories. They're working on it, and we're getting some initial work done. Gave us these sort of 85-86% recovery. So now we're doing all the optimisation work. Assuming that's successful, it's then just a matter of scaling that up. Can the process be scaled? Because it's a relatively straightforward process. We're only using a handful of chemicals. It's a matter of I'm not anticipating any significant issues because the chemistry is straightforward. It's not. It just needs to be scaled up. So it's not like we've got 15 different chemicals and complex plant. It's a relatively straightforward procedure. But that's where the risk lies. We've got to make sure that scales and we can produce things. And the other significant thing, going back to the deposit, is becoming aware of what the variability is in some of the contaminants in there. So we mentioned iron earlier and calcium. So those 2 metals are definitely there in the lake. Our initial work indicates that it's not coming through the process, but as you scale up, you've got to make sure that that's not the case. And then in these deposits, there's always some sort of surprise, unknown unknowns that come out, and we're working on those sort of things as well. These lake systems are fascinating. They look fairly bland and boring, but each lake has almost got its own unique chemical environment, and so that's what's unique about Lake Hope in this particular area, is that it's led to this. The climate and the local rock type has led to this sort of fairly unique deposit there, and so it's a challenge just understanding the chemistry of them.
How consistent is the grade? I've seen a couple of your diagrams where you're almost mapping out 25%, 26, 27. Yep. Is that kind of scientific, or is it just happen that way? So by nature?
No. So the lake, whilst it looks like a flat surface, obviously the lake is deeper in the middle, and so you'll notice that the higher grade portions are generally in the middle of the lake. And so the minerals that are in there are a range of evaporites, so evaporitic minerals. So there's been metals brought in from the granites, and then basically it's aerosols for the sulphur that's in there, sulphate. and it's been brought in, by wind and rain, and the unique combination there has ended up precipitating out this very, very fine-grained material. That was one of the other advantages of the deposit I didn't mention earlier, is that it's naturally less than 10 microns in size. So there's no comminution required, there's no grinding. We literally dig it up and then put it into a wash and then put it into the plant. So it is a very consistent ore body on the drill spacing that we've done currently. That'll be enough for an inferred resource, but we're actually waiting for some assays now which will probably take part of that to indicated. And again, it's fairly consistent. And you have to remember that I mentioned that we've got 800,000 tonnes perhaps of recoverable HPA in the material, subject to ongoing test work. We're planning to produce only mining 60,000 tonnes of that a year. 10,000 tonnes a year of final product. So there's multi-decade operation in through there. So we're only going to be mining a small portion of it at a time, and so we'll be able to actually basically high grade the deposit. So all of the lower grade material will never, that'll never get mined in my lifetime, because there's more than enough of the material in the centre of the lake where it's the thickest and it's the most consistent. So nature's been very helpful to us.
So when you look at the lake, obviously everyone says, "Oh, that's a big lake." I mean, sometimes when you stand on a lake, you go, "Well, this is a big lake." On a map, it kind of look like mediocre, right?
Yeah.
Is there, like you said, in our lifetime, in your lifetime, you're only probably going to be that portion of it. Is there more to it? Is there more lakes around that you think has, or the uniqueness is?
Yeah. So look, I've no doubt that the minerals, probably occur in the other lakes, and we've actually tested a few. But a lot of them have got material over the top, which is not, which is not great for the process. And so, it's, like I said, almost every lake's got its own individual, chemical uniqueness about it, and so, the fact that we've found this lake and there's possibly one other, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. But just in case there are competitors thinking, watching, maybe we should get into this space, we've also got a patent on the on the process, and so we've got many years of test work behind us to get to this stage. So it's I think we've kind of got it locked up.